Greetings once again. Well, we've made it. We've made it. Made it to the day of the crystal shard. Crystal shard. Which is the point at which my own personal investigations now engage with all of the research that I've connected with different wisdom from ancestors from across the planet. Because I've also been doing my own work as well as just finding pieces of puzzles in the ancient wisdoms from across the planet. I've also been doing my own work. Yeah. This is where this whole book came from. Okay, so today is actually, wow, we've actually made it. Yeah. For me personally, yeah, that's what it means. Today is, what's the day today then? 38? And I was age 38 when I made this discovery, which is obviously just another one of those coincidences. This is card 51, Solar 12, Shard of Time Crystal. 0.242424242424. The subtitle of my first book is based on this tiny fraction. I call it the Crystal Shard. It is the precision of my work that has allowed me over many years to collect all these codes together and find how they all link up from a variety of sources around the world. This is a planetary Gnosis experience. Without the original revelation of the diamond matrix, go to Solar 2, and the fraction created when dividing 8 over 33, I would never have found this crystal shard. 0.24242424242424. Yeah. If you do have this book, I'm looking at chapter 4 at the moment. And chapter 4 goes into my study of the leap days. I was doing way back at the beginning of my studies. But before I even found the diamond matrix, I was just investigating how to have a more accurate year. Because as soon as you start studying time, you realise, wow, yeah, that's really been messed around with a lot. So I was trying to look for like knowledge and wisdom that may have been suppressed, because I'd noticed that in a lot of my other research, knowledge and wisdom had been suppressed. So I wasn't really expecting it to be any different here, and it's not. Okay, it's not. This wisdom has been suppressed. Repeat. This wisdom has been suppressed. Okay, so where did I go looking? Well, I looked at the leap day that we currently have at the moment, which is via the Gregorian calendar leap day. I've spoken about that in other episodes. Yeah, but where did they get that knowledge from? Well, you look further back, yes, and you start to see, yes, the Mayans. Yeah, which I've spoken about as well already. Now, the Mayans number that's related to today, and today is Galactic Arkana number 14, which is Temperance. Okay? Which is the bringing together of the two waters. Okay? So one of the waters in this, relative to this, what I'm sharing, is the Mayan, which is in their time sequencing, 1,507 years is there as one of the numbers recorded, that's left over recorded from the remnants of their culture, and the mathematics and the sub-cycles within that. Okay? 1,507 is from the Mayans. From another place, also pyramid builders, is ancient land of Kemet, which is what they prefer to call it. They don't like to call it Egypt. They prefer to call it Al-Kemet, which is where alchemy comes from, at least in the phonetics of the language when you connect the words up. Yeah. For them, it's connected with hierarchical rising of Sirius and the sequence lasting 1,461 years. Okay? Now, these were two numbers I knew about at the beginning when I was studying just looking at leap days. I hadn't created the diamond matrix. Okay? I'm letting you know this so you understand that there's a sequence of events here which is also a part of this mystery, story, reality that I'm sharing. Okay? So first, I was just looking at leap days, which is what today is about. You see this here? You see this little tiny bit here? You'll have to zoom in a bit more. You see that tiny little speck? Okay? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the whole year. Yeah? That's the whole year. And that tiny little speck, yeah, that's the point 24242424. Yeah? Okay? That's why the graphics related to this card and this information, which is what all the graphics do, is they have a specific purpose. And this one's very specific. Yeah. So we have this wisdom from these two ancient cultures, both pyramid builders. Yeah. Pretty fascinating. Yeah. Far more accurate. Yeah. Yeah. Way more accurate. And way more accurate thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Yeah. Which already cast doubt onto the prevailing mindset that refuses to actually look at information fully and completely before they make a intelligent judgment. Make up your own mind, please. I'll repeat that again. Please make up your own mind about this information. Okay? So there's the two Mayans and Egyptians from the land of Kemet. Two vast cycles, 1,500 years is how you could round it to hundreds of years. 1461, 1507. Okay? Now, I had those numbers many years ago, at the beginning, when I was just studying the leap days. Hadn't even found a diamond matrix, because the diamond matrix is the 8th over the 33-year cycle of the Persians. Okay? Which I found later. And that has a different function. I've described that. That is Galactic Arkana number 11, which is connected with the 33 and the 11 and the sunspots. Already been covered. Okay? So, today we're talking about Mayans and Egyptians and the leap day pattern. Okay? Now, one thing to point out, which I've pointed out for quite a while now, and this is online, someone else made these, but this is something that many books talk about, and what it relates to is, here at the top, you have the 33-year cycle, here down below you have the Gregorian leap day, and basically what happens is, this is accurate, which is the 33-year cycle, and this isn't. Okay? Scientifically speaking, it's not. It has a wonky fluctuation. Yeah, 2.5 days. So is it today, or yesterday, or tomorrow? Essentially, we don't actually really know. Okay? With the system we're currently using. Okay, so it's not accurate. Okay? I was looking for accuracy, because then I can make better calculations about vast cycles of time over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and also be able to see the fluctuations more clearly with a more accurate geometric average. Yeah. But I didn't know what I'd find. No, but I had a purpose. I was looking for wisdom. Yeah, that was my purpose. I was looking for wisdom. It relates to geometry, it relates to the ancestors, and seeing how it all connects up. Yeah. And now it's even connecting up with the tarot. Yes? 2 cups. Yeah? Yeah? Temperance. Okay. The two of cups. What was the 2 of cups again? 2 of cups was... Oh, wow! Where do we go now? Two of Cups, the 12 and the 13. Yeah, that's interesting. You know that's why that's interesting? Because if you take 1461, 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 1, you get 12. And if you take the 1507 and you add the 1 and the 5 and the 7, you get 13. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So this is a fractal system. Yeah. Really, it's a fractal system. And we live in it. And I can prove that. Okay? That's what I'm proving. Yeah. That it's more real than the Gregorian calendar. The reality that we actually live in is more real than a made-up calendar that doesn't relate to nature on multiple levels. Because nature has multiple levels. And these are all different levels of nature. Different ways of looking at nature. And for different reasons. Because it's actually pretty complex. And sometimes it makes sense to simplify things. You've obviously heard of 6 and half a dozen, but have you heard of 7 and thrice renewed? No. 6 and half a dozen is how you usually get your eggs packed. Okay? And that's nice and convenient. Yeah? That's useful and convenient. Yeah? You can pack it in all different ways. You can have 6 or 12 or however you want to do it, but it packs nicely and it's useful and convenient. Whereas over here, this is the 28-day month of 4 times 7, which is where I get the 7 and thrice renewed, because you've got 7 and thrice renewed, so 7 and 3 times 7 again. But what does it say there? Oh yeah, useless and meaningless. Yeah, useless and meaningless. Yeah, that's fascinating. To me, that's fascinating. But that's the sort of responses you get when you talk to people about suppressed information. I think a lot of the time people are just miffed. Miffed that you're telling them about suppressed information. People don't like to be suppressed. They don't like to be told they've been suppressed, for sure. But this isn't just on a scientific level. We're all used to 6 and half a dozen. 7 and thrice renewed. Yeah. It's natural cycles. Yeah, based off of science of nature, which is what all this information is based on. Okay? From a previous video series, I'm bringing back G-Nod. Yeah, G-Nod's back. Yeah. The geometric and organic dynamic. Which is to say, yeah, they've even spelt God wrong. Yeah. Gnode, actually. Yeah. Gnode. Yeah. Because it's an alchemy. And none of this maths would exist that I've done if I hadn't done geometric and organic dynamic. Okay? So, leap days eventually led to the diamond matrix. We've covered this. We've covered that. Yeah, we have. And on we go. Where is the... There we go. Doo-doo-doo. Well, there's a lot of information in the book, to be perfectly honest. So we've gone from chapter 4 to chapter 8. And this is where my research took me, was to make things like this. Which took a really, 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 really long time to make. Yeah, staring at screens for years to make. And this is the one that was correct. There were many other versions before that that didn't work. Okay? This one covers 2,600 years roughly. The full spreadsheet covers 20,000. So 8 times this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? That's how much information I'm dealing with in terms of precision over vast cycles of time. That's page 121 in my book. So after mapping that out over 20,000 years, I then started to look for metrics and geometries within what I was studying. And I based it all off of total solar eclipses at the spring equinox. And I chose the spring equinox because I'm in the northern hemisphere. And that's what my science is specifically to. Which is to say there's probably far more to be found out, actually. Yeah. But that's what I'm focusing on. And the spring equinox is the birth point of the year. And that's why I chose it. And it's also the more common new year, to be perfectly honest, in the world, is the spring equinox. Yeah. Winter, midwinter, and, Gregorian New Year. These are cold New Years, but they're really winter festivals. New Year's really the spring equinox. Okay? Because that's the birth point of the year. Yeah. Okay? So I used that point, and I mapped out all the total solar eclipses at the spring equinox over 20,000 years, and then I started to look for metrics and patterns within that. Yeah. And what did I find? I found these numbers here, which is a 62-year cycle here, and then over here 372 and 391. And you can see how this one is, each of these ones is one of these. That is that, repeated 6 times. Okay? Now that's what I found in nature, was a fluctuation between 372 and 391. I'll be making specific episodes about the 372 and 391 at a later date, because they also have a specific aspect of this cyclic knowledge to share. So that is the 372, 391. I also left here, at the end of the book, I saw a question. What does this Pictish stone, what's that Pictish stone saying in relation to the codes? Yeah. Well, that's the mystery of the stone, and the mystery of the stone is essentially, don't pollute. Just stop polluting. Yeah. Be self-sufficient and allow people to live self-sufficient lives. Support them to live self-sufficient lives. Because actually that's the intelligent thing to do. Because we're human beings. And we should care about our environment. Pretty simple, really. Not complicated. But it needs to be understood on a planetary level, which is why I'm working with planetary knowledge that transcends the Gregorian calendar. So natural fluctuations then. What did I find? Because I'd mapped out the 372 and the 391 here. You can see them just mapped out there on this page. And this page is 129 of the book. And then here, after I'd done further looking deeper even more, I suddenly noticed that the differences across and over, along, between several of them added up to, the 1,461 and the 1,507. The numbers I'd found, at least yeah, 13, 14, 15 years. Ooh, yeah. After I started investigating this time wizardry. So there it was at the end of my 20,000 year study. I'd found the numbers in it from the beginning that I wasn't expecting to find, but there they were. Multiples of the 372, 391 together make the 1461, 1507. 1461 is a more of an increment. 1507 is, they have different functions. Cross timelines. And also the further back in time you go, the more accurate they get. Yeah, like thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, those numbers become even more accurate. Which is to say, yeah, what's that say then? Wow. Yeah, that's kind of going against the historical record. Well, someone should stop me, shouldn't they? Before wow, what's this one? What's that? 1507 and 1461 across the planet, and there's a pyramid, and it's pointing somewhere. Where's it pointing? Well, where's it pointing, eh? Alchemy. Yeah, the two waters. Mayan and ancient land of Kemet. Alchemy. Temperance. Yeah, and eventually, in those later episodes, we then relate that to warming and cooling periods in the historical records. Yeah. Yeah, oh, hang on a second. Oh. Hang on a second, there's someone on the whale phone. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we want to understand our realities and respect nature, natural cycles have a part to play because they're part of nature. If you look at it logically, the Gregorian calendar doesn't relate to nature, but natural cycles do. So if we're on the environmental angle, natural cycles are part of it. Yeah, even the whale and the lion as well, yeah, they all agree with me that natural cycles have quite a big part to play, especially these ones over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Yeah, that they can then connect in with the rise and fall of empires, which is something I actually theorized at the beginning of this book, before I'd even really started looking at the larger cycles and investigate them with as much due diligence as I did my first book. Yeah. And that's how I found all this information. Which connects up on all these multiple levels. Yeah. All connects up. Yep. All these different codes. All connect up. And the information on my websites, they're in my books. They're all available to download for free. I only print books if someone actually wants to buy a printed copy. Because, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with mass production. If there's demand for it, sure. But, you know, information is available online these days. Do we need to chop down as many trees? Right. Well, there you go. Well, if we're going to sort out a complete understanding of the universe, we need to factor in natural cycles. That's a scientific fact. And I have evidence to prove that that is a scientific fact. Even more worth listening to if we're talking about being able to determine the fluctuations in warming and cooling over thousands of years. And then, hang on a second, but are you saying then that these ancient cultures somehow knew about this wisdom thousands and thousands of years ago, and they still couldn't, you know, their empires still rise and fall? Wow, that's fascinating. Well, we have many other options now as this planet that we now live on, but we would have to actually acknowledge the ancestors and become aware of this knowledge and this wisdom and how it connects up with natural cycles and these periods of warming and cooling, which, yeah, sure, humans affect the environment. Yeah, we affect our own surface level environment the most. Yeah, the realm where we walk around on. Yeah, that's where we affect the most. So that's where things need to be sorted out. And they need to be sorted out looking at what's gone on here. Has that land been stolen? Do you have the consent of the people who live there to take whatever you're taking? These are the sorts of things, really, because this is the roots of the problem. If we're just talking about dealing with symptoms, I'm not really interested in symptoms. I'm interested in going to the root causes. Yeah, that's the undercurrents that usually are suppressed and swept away. Well, that's the status quo way of dealing with it. Well, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in going to the roots of the issues and understanding the reality we live in. And I have this evidence now to back me up. Yeah, and the ice cores, cost 25 million to produce. So, I think the ice cores may be worth looking into. Potentially. Especially when they match up the historical record and rise and fall of empires. That's quite fascinating. Over thousands and thousands of years. Yeah. And yes, most empires are Northern Hemisphere specific. So, if we're talking about somewhere which points to what is essentially the North Pole, because, yes, that's right, Greenland is essentially the landmass of the North Pole. It's where the ice caps maintain over thousands and thousands of years, because the North Pole is actually an ocean. Yeah, so that fluctuates way more, because it's not on a landmass. So knowing how the fluctuations happen on Greenland, for the Northern Hemisphere, for me specifically, I mean, look how closely I live. Yeah. Look how closely I live to Greenland. I would think, you know, my local pals here might be interested. I think most of this area of the world would be interested in finding out that there's ancient wisdom that connects up with cycles of time that match with ice core samples, warming and cooling. Yeah, well, that's the stuff I'll be going into in later episodes in the alchemy stage. Yeah, specifically. And all the information I've found in relation to it that relates to my next books. Because I think it's too important information to just hold it back. I think it's important to just give it away. Yeah. It's quite a job to finish this third book. The first one took me 19 years. Yeah. And this one, how long's this one taken? Yeah, definitely 5 years. Yeah. Well, it's intense information to me. I think it's relevant. I'd love to have more chats to people about it, but yeah. Everybody seems to be happy to suppress natural cycles. Yeah, guess it's 6 and half a dozen or 7 thrice renewed. Yeah. That's as much as I have to share today. All the information's online. You can find all the different information here, all these websites. The truth will set us free. If it doesn't, it's not the truth. Yeah, I'll let everybody contemplate and let me know if you can come up with some other reason how this all adds up and isn't relevant to our entire planet more than the Gregorian calendar, since it transcends it. Yeah, it helps us to understand the fractal nature of our reality far more than the Gregorian. Therefore, it should be something worth talking about. I think so. Well, that's what I'm hoping to get across. I'm doing my best to get it across. Maybe sometimes it's easier just to read the book, though. I'll keep on sharing it as many different ways as possible. Here's one of my scribblings. About today. So yeah, loads of notes. Hope something made sense today. If it did, please get in touch to let me know. And until next time, may peace prevail.